You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. I want to go to this story here, and that is Byron Allen has settled his lawsuit with Comcast. You might remember that case went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 against Byron Allen, sending it back to the lower court. He sued Comcast and other cable companies, alleging that they were limiting his ability to be able to get on their cable systems. And again, it was a $20 billion lawsuit filed in 2015. But they announced today that he is dropping that particular lawsuit, and Comcast has reached an agreement with Allen's entertainment company, his company Entertainment Studios, to pick up 3 of his channels, Comedy.tv, Recipe.tv, and JusticeCentral.tv. This from the LA Times, from Variety. The PAC also amends the term of Comcast's existing deal to carry the Weather Channel, which Allen's company acquired in 2018. It also covers the retransmission consent rights to 14 local TV stations that Allen Media Group has acquired in the past few months. Quote, we are excited to begin a new phase of partnership with Comcast and Xfinity, including the distribution of our cable channels for the first time on Xfinity platforms, said Allen. Greg Carr, I want to go to you first. A lot of people were talking about this, championing Byron Allen's cause. He came on this show. He went on the Breakfast Club. He was saying, break up Comcast. He was partnering with, had CBC, Congressman Bobby Rush and others were writing letters echoing those same comments. And now, and first of all, we did reach out to Byron Allen. He is not offering any further comment other than the statement here. I did personally reach out and talk to him today. Greg, your thoughts?
Big fella, Big Byron. Here's what you do now, big boy. Because you've proven what Big Daddy Kane said in the negative. Big Daddy Kane said pimping ain't easy, but you done proved that pimping is easy. Now that you pimped the race, big fella, here's your job, Chief Rocker. Your job now is to make good on employing black folks, which would be a little different than what you've done in the past. Your job now is to use your platform and your resources for the elevation of the race, big fella. Let me tell you why, big fella. Let me tell you why, big boy. Because the Civil Rights Act of 1866 was passed after the 13th Amendment, but before the 14th Amendment. In fact, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, codified in Section 1981 of federal law, says that black people had a right to make and enforce contracts and be treated as if they were a white man. In other words, really the Civil Rights Act of 1866 has more powerful language than the 14th Amendment, equal protection and due process. You rode the Civil Rights Act of 1866 into court, and when the Ninth Circuit agreed with you that Comcast had discriminated against you, they took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 with Neil Gorsuch delivering the opinion that you had to meet a higher standard. For those of you who need to understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to keep this real short. This is what the Supreme Court said back in March when they heard Allen's lawsuit. They said that you must not only prove going into court or establish the possibility as a matter of a trial of fact that race was used by Comcast to determine whether or not your networks would be carried, but you must also establish that but for the use of race, you would have gotten your networks connected to them. Now, Roland, you had Kristen Clark on, our sister. You had Brother Derek on from the NAACP, Derek Johnson, walking us through why narrowing the standard and elevating that standard would eviscerate the Civil Rights Act of 1866. So they kicked it back to the lower court for you to be able to do that. Of course, your tactic is to get in court so you can get discovery, so you can go through Comcast files. But big fella, to end this, if your whole tactic was to rally the race behind you, because you ain't never been that black when it come to us, to rally the race behind you so that you could get Comcast to settle with you, and I suspect it was, that what you got to do now going forward is prove to us you was as black as you were 6 months ago when you rang the alarm bell and the race came to your defense. Because right now you're looking real suspect, big fella.
Erica.
we just need to breathe from the heat off of Dr. Carr's commentary. And I'm so glad that you walked everyone through, Dr. Carr, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, because I was one of the people that was on that call with the NAACP when they narrowed and talked about specifically how this would impact Black folks when you're talking about competing for contracts, when you're thinking about perhaps buying a home or getting an apartment, how all that very decision by the Supreme Court does funnel down and impacts us. And so I agree with Dr. Carr that with all of the engagement that he got from this platform, from Roland, from everybody, the roll call, everybody that was said, the folks that just are in the general public, that there is now a due out that's owed. And I think that he needs to know that, and expressly so with the different channels that he now has, that even thinking about this platform, which is Black media, that is very much so dedicated to not only delivering news, but also connecting the dots and allowing people to see how things that we see throughout the day impacts us on the day-to-day. So I completely agree with Dr. Greg Carr, and it's always been very interesting to me kind of the way that Byron Allen went about it, but now he's really got to cut the check with his community.
What's your thoughts, Reese?
Ooh, that's a lot of heat coming from both Erica and Dr. Carr. My girl, Senator Kamala Harris, led an amicus brief in that case to talk about how damaging the but-for, standard is. But, I mean, I listened to what you guys have to say, and I feel like you're much more well-versed in it than that. If the whole point, ultimately, these cases do have a point, right, which is to win what Byron Allen seemed to get concessions from Comcast on. So I completely understand the kind of the heat towards him on, like you said, Dr. Carr, rallying the race behind him. So ultimately that it ended up just being about enriching his pockets. But on this, I defer to you all, particularly you, Dr. Carr, and what are the implications now that this Supreme Court has ruled in this way? It's been kicked down to the Ninth Circuit, and then Byron Allen has dropped basically the case. That's what I'm interested in understanding.
Well, the thing is, what you're dealing with, the Supreme Court has ruled. So actually, Greg, you would have to have Congress would have to redefine, I suppose, that law to fix or put him back in place what was there before.
That one's tough, Roland. We spend a lot of time with this when I teach 1981 over at Howard Law School. When we deal with this, what has happened now is they've settled now, so it's moot. But the district court would then re-examine whether or not Allen met that burden. So really, in some ways, the Supreme Court punted back to the district court. So to pick up on what Reese just laid out, the district court would then go back through and determine whether or not Allen did meet the but-for standard. Now, let's say that they said that he did, or let's say that they said that he didn't. It would then go back to the Court of Appeals, and the Ninth Circuit would get another bite at the apple. So ultimately, it was going to head back to the Court of Appeals. I mean, to the Court of Appeals and to the Supreme Court again. So, but the threat, as Kristen walked us through, as Derek walked us through when you talked about it when they made the decision, the threat is that once, as we heard Erica say, you create that but-for standard, that's almost an impossible standard to reach, and you've left it now in the hands of judges. Again, why do elections matter? They're still replacing district court judges, y'all. So a judge will now determine, and there's no way for Congress to strengthen that law. Understand, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 says that blacks have the rights to make and enforce contracts and other rights, positive rights, and to be treated as if a white man. But between the Civil Rights Act of 1866 and today, courts have interpreted that to apply even to white people, therefore neutralizing the idea that whiteness becomes a standard that applies to black people and reinforcing the power of whiteness over and beyond what the statute literally says, what it says on its face. So when I'm saying all that is to say that, Brother Byron, I seem to remember a little comedy show where you were the token black called Real People. If we being real, and real, as you say, Roland, recognize real, you took a gamble that you could use the Civil Rights Act of 1866 to get more money. And in the process, you endangered us. And by settling you have at least pulled back out before the courts get another bite at this apple, and y'all better line up and register to vote, because if you don't vote and the wrong person gets in and they put a few more judges on, you don't want to see the Civil Rights Act of 1866 come into court, because we can all predict what's going to happen the next time it shows up.
I recall when we had Byron Allen on the show, this was back in December, John Hope Bryant, founder of Operation Hope, had released a video where he said, look, this is a dispute between a private company and Comcast. Byron Allen said on the show that John Hope Bryant's analysis was wrong. After today's news, John Hope Bryant dropped this video.
But a very, very insightful, thoughtful, and well-connected person in Black America who let me know that, as I have been saying, Byron Allen settled. I did this video a year ago, 8 months ago, 6 months ago, something. And I mean, people were, hey, Lamont, hey, Rakita, people were just, oh, John, you don't know what you're talking about. And this is about civil rights and social justice. And this has to go to the Supreme Court. Byron knows what he's doing. And, this is about all of us. And this is about, and I kept saying, look, all of us are not shareholders of Byron Allen's company. All of us are not going to get any money if Byron settles, which he will. This is not about all of us. This is about his wallet, which, by the way, is fine. I want the brother to be successful. I mean, I haven't seen Byron Allen in the Black community before this last year. The only time I see my brother Byron is when I'm at a resort, when I go to once or twice a year, which, by the way, fantastic, all good. But he shows up and he's all over the Black community. He's writing checks to nonprofits and organizations. Let's see if that continues. By the way, part of what I want to say here is I want to see this largesse that has just been deal cut shared with all the folks who backed him. And if he does that, I'm more than happy. But I doubt he's going to do what I'm going to suggest. So look, what I said is you have 4 kinds of people: hunters, gatherers, skinner gatherers, and cooks. And then you've got spectators. I'll repeat that. I detail this in my new book coming out in October, Up From Nothing. You can pre-order it now. Hunter, and no, this is not about you buying my book. You care less whether you buy the book or not. I'll give you the book. Hunters, I'm a hunter, all right? Skinner gatherers, all right? That's sort of the analysts, reviewers, underwriters, accountants in a company, right? And cooks, and that's folks who prepare the product in a company. In a home, of course, the cook is, the person who takes the house and turns it into a home. So everybody has a role. My concern was Black America in this situation was just the spectator. We're on social media. We're protesting. We're blogging. We're writing stories. We're going on the media. We won. What did we win? Let me explain this. Explain it. This is a basic business disagreement. Comcast had put other blacks on their network, as I said before. They just chose not to put his program on the network for whatever reasons they had. He said it was discrimination. Okay, prove it. That's a racial discrimination suit between you and Comcast. Go fight it, and if you win, I'm sure there's people who like in every company, who are backwards at Comcast, like there are people who are backwards. I'm sure there's somebody backwards working at Operation Hope. I don't know about. If I know about them, they're gone. So you do business with people. Of course, there are backwards people everywhere. So if he can prove it, he should have filed a racial discrimination lawsuit. Takes this thing all the way to the Supreme Court, where all black folks can do is lose. Once you lose at the Supreme Court, there's a new precedent set, and the bar gets heightened for true civil rights lawsuits. This is a civil rights case, and this is not.
You can see all of John's videos, about a 12-minute video on his Facebook page. And so he certainly shared his thoughts there, saying, I told you so, Reese, Erica. I know Greg had to go. So just final comments on this topic. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, he raised the stakes and he basically screwed over Black America from what you all have just presented. So shame on him. That's my final comment.
Yeah, I think that this is very insightful. And then it also really kind of goes back to some of the commentary that we saw on social media just recently with when the when the Justice Policing Reform Act was rolled out, and people were more enthralled with the kente cloth than they were with the actual policy. So I think that this is really kind of another way to point us in the direction to really kind of keep our eyes on the prize and to actually be more of a student as it relates to what the issue is, and not just really the shiny ball.
All right, folks. So we'll see what happens next. Love to have Byron come back on the show, but hopefully we'll do that. He did write that letter a few days ago, talked about laying out his 10-point plan in terms of what Black America should be demanding in the wake of the George Floyd death. If you have not seen it, be sure to check that out. All right, folks, back to our Road Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Seek. Of course, Black-owned company. Mary Spiel owns it. They have these wonderful headphones, 360-degree 4D headphones that are fantastic, unbelievable sound. We have a partnership with them, folks, where if you get these headsets, you can actually use your promo code to get a discount. And so what you should do is use RMVIP 2020, RMVIP 2020 for these particular headphones. They're absolutely fabulous. Sounds great. And again, when you buy these, you are supporting a Black-owned company. Go to Seek.com, CEEK.com. That's CEEK.com. Trust me, you will certainly enjoy what they sound like.